I'll be on for a short period of time, but it will be this evening.
All right, Bill Maher on HBO tonight. Congressman Ron Paul, HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher. In addition to that, Congressman Paul was greeted by quite a welcoming committee last night at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport when his plane got in. Even though it got in an hour late, the welcoming committee was still there, signs and cheers, and they were so happy. If you would like to see the photos from the welcoming committee, they're on the internet at freedomsphoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com for the welcoming committee and the good and true people that turned out last night to welcome Congressman Ron Paul. Back to the phones. John in Scottsdale is next. John, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. Good morning,
Morning.
Congressman. I appreciate it. I hate to rain on your parade here, but I'm going to have to do that. You made a statement about choice and robbery, and I think it went to the effect, why should Arizona be robbed? Because people chose, we were talking here about Katrina, to live on the coast. Do you recall making a statement like that?
I do recall that.
Okay, well, let me explain to you why. And I think this is a simple example, but it goes to the core of the problem with your way of thinking. If you look at the United States, you'll find that at least 12 congressmen of our states are coastal. And just rough math here, that's very rough math taken from a computer here, taken from the data. There are 120 million Americans living in coastal states. Now that means if you take a percentage of that, you've got maybe 14, 15 million people living near or on a coast. And when an event like Katrina occurs, Congressman, it's potentially affecting not just New Orleans, it affects potentially all of us. And the reason we have, see, the taxes don't come from you, Congressman, it comes from us. I'm the taxpayer, and that is my money that you're talking about.
Well, you're free to send your money to New Orleans.
Well, that's true.
Send it.
But the government who builds dikes and who builds impediments to the sea must take some responsibility. I know that I'm free to, and I did, by the way, Charles, I did send money to New Orleans.
I think
but the point remains, Charles, that there are millions of people living on the coast, and one individual.
Well, look, John, I had dinner last night with people that had just flown in from...
you let the congressman...
Well, wait, I will, but it's my show, too. That's my name on the door, you know.
Well, you don't have to jump to his defense.
No, I'm not jumping to his defense. I'm interested in the conversation.
He made the comment.
Yeah, I'll let him answer.
Okay, go ahead.
I had dinner last night with people that just flew into town from Tornado Alley.
Yeah.
They chose to live in Tornado Alley. If they want to live in a mobile home park in Tornado Alley, should I assume the risk for them? Look, when it gets to be 122 degrees in Phoenix, I don't ask them to pay my air conditioning bill.
You're missing the point, Charles.
No, you're missing the point.
The choice is not where you live. The question is a tornado. That's a natural accident.
122 degrees is a natural accident.
By a tornado, Charles. But let the congressman get in on this, because it does go to the basic flaw in his argument.
Congressman Paul, what about the basic flaw in the argument?
I think everybody has the same concerns about helping people when they're having trouble. The question is whether it should be done through coercion or a voluntary means or local government. And I opt out from the federal government doing it because that involves central economic planning. So even if we accept the gentleman's premise on a moral premise, in a practical way, it's a total failure. I mean, we'd have been better off taking the amount of money and giving every single family $20,000, and they'd have all been better off than if the way we did it. We bought all these trailer homes and they sat out in the open. So the whole thing is insane. It's a total waste. And besides, the reason I don't like these federal government programs, it encourages people like me to build on the beach. I have a house on the beach at the Gulf of Mexico. But why don't I assume my own responsibility? Why doesn't the market tell me what the insurance rate should be? Because it would be very, very high. But because we want it subsidized, we ask the people of Arizona to subsidize my insurance so I can take greater danger. My house gets blown down, and then the people in Arizona rebuild it. And my statement back on during the time of Katrina, which was a rather risky political statement, that was that why do the people of Arizona have to pay for me to take my risk on those beaches? But all you have to do is study history to find out that less federal government intervention actually works. The worst hurricane this country ever had was in 1900 in Galveston. The city of Galveston was wiped off the map, essentially. It was rebuilt with a seawall that still exists today, and you never had a nickel from the federal government. It was all done with the city and local people did this. So it isn't like that we don't care, that we don't think problems won't be taken care of. We think they'll be taken care of better, and we think less people will be exposed to danger if you don't subsidize risky behavior.
Well, that was a component of the tragedy in New Orleans, is the local people who should have been responsible for the levees and the dikes, they had a pretty good idea the kind of shape they were in, but they thought they were going to let George do it. They thought that the dikes were going to be maintained by somebody in Washington, but really Dianne Feinstein really didn't know the condition of the dikes the way that people that lived next door to them knew, and the dangers that they faced if the levees gave way in New Orleans. The congressmen in Washington didn't have any idea the risks that they faced the way the people that lived in that basin knew.
So in many ways, you could make the case that say that it was the original government intervention that set the stage for the disaster of New Orleans. I mean, not only did they build a city below sea level, it was the federal government that was supposed to do the upkeep, and they didn't do it. So I think it's a very serious mistake to think that central economic planning and forcibly transferring wealth from people who don't take risks to people who take risks is a proper way to go. Not in a free society. In a socialist society, I guess that's the way it works, but it's very inefficient, it's very, very costly, and it will contribute to our bankruptcy.
7:51 in the morning, Congressman Ron Paul on the Charles Goyette Show. 7:54 in the morning. The Charles Goyette Show is on the air this morning, every morning from 6 until 9 o'clock, but it's not every morning that we get the guy in studio that I'm supporting for the presidency. It's clearly going to take a lot of work on the part of a lot of people. I'm willing to do my part. The only politician I've sent any money to over the last, I think, at least 15 years, I don't think I've sent a dime to anybody else over that period of time, except for Congressman Ron Paul, and so I'd like to roll up my sleeves and be helpful to him as well. Congressman Paul, one thing that we haven't talked about, we've covered a lot of stuff. We haven't talked about the border issue and immigration. Have at it.
Well, that's just a minor issue these days.
It's nothing around here at all.
Well, obviously it is a major issue. It's probably one of the top issues that people bring up no matter what state I'm in. You know, it isn't just the border states that have a concern. So you can go into New England and they're bringing this subject up as well. My position is that you get too much of something when there's an incentive. So I think there's too much of an incentive for illegals to come to this country, and it involves the welfare state and automatic citizenship. So I've taken a very strong position that just being born in this country should not qualify you for automatic citizenship, and I'm opposed to all amnesty programs. What I would like to see is to de-emphasize the benefits. I do not think there should be any mandates, whether at the federal level or at the state level. They shouldn't do it either. That illegal immigrants should not be able to come here and get free education and free health care, because that's an incentive to bring the family. So if there's amnesty out there in the future, and in the meantime you get free health care and medical care and education, why not bring the families and just wait it out? And I think you have to get rid of those incentives. As important as protecting the borders are, that is not the solution as long as those incentives are so strong. Today, all you have to do is work here about 18 months and you can qualify for Social Security benefits after going back to Mexico. And they want to move us toward this North American Union, and that's why I think a lot of people aren't too interested in protecting these borders. My problem with the borders and for our foreign policy is that we concentrate so much on putting our resources around the world, worrying about a border, say, between Syria and Iraq, and claiming, you know, those Syrians aren't doing their job in protecting their borders. At the same time, what do we do over here to protect our borders? So we just totally ignore it. So it is a major problem, but the welfare state is such a huge contributing factor. The truth is there are a lot of jobs wanting around here because there's a lot of people who don't work that should work. And if they didn't have access to welfare, they might work for minimum wage or do other things that might be more of an incentive to work rather than going on the dole. So the welfare state works to bring people in as well as it works to distort our labor markets here at home. So there's no easy answer without addressing the subject of the welfare state. But in the meantime, what we should be doing is saving a lot of money from all the tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars we spend overseas, and use those resources to have better border protection here.
All right. Hey, Chet, can you move